Today we will be working through 3 asanas, and the ones that I have chosen, they will be stacking up, working to our ultimate goal. So we're going to be working through our half split. From there we will go into lizard, and from there we will go into splits. So that kind of helps us begin to really get into the hips and the hamstrings and start to work through those areas so we can safely go into our splits. For our props today, we'll need a couple blocks. We'll set those up, one on each side of the mat. And then if you have a towel or a blanket, a little rag, a paper plate, we're gonna take that and place it up at the top of the mat because we will need that later. So let's begin in our tabletop. We're going to walk the hands towards the knees. We're going to take our left foot and bring it to the top of the mat. From here, we're going to do a little bit of back and forth here to get into our half split. So we're gonna walk the toes forward, working to find the hip flexor on the right side. So we're gonna shift the hips forward. We start to find this lengthening in the right hip. Our knee is stacked over our ankle. If it is not, we need to continue to walk our toes forward so that way when we're pushing, leaning forward, we've got the knee over the ankle. We're not overextending ourselves. If we need to, from here, we can take our blocks as our little bit of extra support. We've got 3 levels for our options. We can start with the blocks on their tallest option. We can come down to our middle option or the lowest option. Finding what's feeling good gives you the space where we're starting to feel this opening here. And we've hung out here for a second, so we're going to begin to shift back into our half split. As we do this, we're lifting the toes, maybe scooting the heel forward. We're keeping a slight bend in the knee. We want to make sure we're never locking our knees out in any asana that we do. And then we're shooting the hips back. So we start to feel our tailbones reaching towards the back wall. We start to get into that meaty part of the muscle on the hamstring. And we're utilizing our blocks to help keep the chest lifted. Keeping that slight bend in the knee again. Breathing here. Noticing what's happening in our hamstring. We might be overextending the knee, so we might start to feel some pulling at the lower part of the hamstring. We need to shift forward a little bit, put that bend in. We also want to make sure, I mentioned having the tailbone out long. That kind of means we need to untuck the pelvis and shoot the hip bones out. That helps us get a little deeper into that muscle, because if we're rolling, if we're tucking, kind of rounding ourselves, pulling the pelvis forward, it takes some of the heat out of the hamstring. So we can play with those little micro movements where we start to get deep into the muscle. We're not holding our breath. We feel a little heat happening, and we're hanging out here. So from here, we're going to walk the blocks forward, shifting forward, coming back into that low lunge. We're going to give this side a break, pulling that left leg back into our tabletop. We're going to switch sides, pulling the right leg to the top, shifting forward. So again, we're looking to feel that muscle, that hip flexor, the muscle in the hips. We'll start to feel peel apart as we're leaning, pushing forward. We're taking a look down at our front leg. Our toes are pointing forward, knee is stacked over the ankle. We're getting that opening here, preparing for that back leg of our splits. Taking a couple breaths here. And then as we prepare, we might need to walk the blocks back. As we inhale, we're shifting the hips back, lift the toes. Building our foundation here. We're rolling up onto the heel. The toes are pointing towards the sky. We've got a slight bend in the knee, and we can feel the length in the hamstring. As I mentioned on the other side, we're rolling that pelvis out, so it's the tailbone, the hip bones are pointing back towards the back wall. Keeping a lift in the knee, the quad is engaged, and it's almost like we're scissoring our legs together. We're squeezing the thighs in, keeping some activation, engagement happening in the body. It's really finding this balance of energy and force. So we're grounding in on certain parts. For me, I'm pushing the top of the foot in on the left side. The knee is pushing into the mat. The shin is reaching for the mat. On the right side, the heel is pushing into the ground. The hip bones are pushing back, and I'm finding my breath. Awesome. We're going to move in a circle here. So we're going to shift forward, coming back to that low lunge. And then we're going to hang out potentially here. If we're coming into, we're going to transition into lizard. So this could be your base for lizard. In yen, this is called dragon. So we're just hanging out here where we've got a pinch happening in our right hip. You might feel like, I call it a pinch, but there's a little tension that's happening in this hip crease. We can feel our hamstrings engaged, our quads engaged, the knee is stacked over the ankle, toes are pointing forward. On our left side, we're finding that opening again along the front hip. And then we can amplify, getting a little bit deeper into this. We can move our blocks off to the side, and then we can begin to heel toe the right foot to the top corner. We bring the right hand to the inside of the leg and we shift forward more. Because we're coming from this low lunge, our dragon A, we might have to tuck the left toes, lift the knee, and find that space, shifting forward or backward, and then gently releasing the knee back down onto the floor. So this would be the next level for our lizard. We can begin to take it a little bit deeper if we're needing more, rolling on to the knife edge. So the heel, sorry, not the heel, the knife edge of the foot's connected to the earth. The toes are pointing at a 45-degree angle. And then our knee is sliding out to our side. It's kind of flopped open. This gets a little bit deeper into it. And then if we can go further, coming down onto the forearms. Tuning back into the breath. Finding those spaces we can soften. And then as we begin to lift out of it, we're going to come, if you're on your forearms, we're coming back up onto the hands. We're lifting the hips and starting to shift back. And then we're going to continue to walk our right toes back to the center of the mat, preparing us to slide the foot back into that tabletop. We might need to take a moment. We've been on our knees for a moment. I forgot to mention this earlier. If this feels like a lot of pressure, we can take our mat and double it up whenever we're doing floor work like this. So I actually will do this for this round to save my knees. If you have a blanket, a second blanket, you can place that across here. Or you can reuse it later. So from here, we're gonna come into the lizard on our left side, bringing the left foot to the top of the mat. We might need to walk the toes closer to the top of the mat. I also, because I folded my mat, messed my positioning up. I need to correct and fold it here at the back of the mat. So giving myself some space to move. So I'm putting the right knee on that cushion, extra cushion. The left leg comes back to the top of the mat. Tiptoeing the toes forward so I have some space to shift forward into that dragon A. Looking for opening on the right side. We want to feel that balance between the energy and force. We feel a little simmering happening. And we're making an assessment on how much further we want to progress. If you're staying here, that's perfectly fine. If you want to go a little further or the furthest amplification, we're bringing the left hand onto the inside, walking the toes up to the top left corner, rolling on to the knife edge. Checking out that space where we went on the other side, looking to see how far we can take this, knowing we might have to back out here if you have one side that's tighter than the other. For me, this is my tighter side, so I have to back out a little bit. And I'm coming back to my breath. With every exhale, softening. Somewhere I might be gripping onto. Beginning to lift out. We're starting to kind of shift the hips back. We're gonna heel toe the foot back to the center. The left hand comes to the outside of the foot. We shift back into our tabletop. Shake the hips out, get some blood going here. We might do some hip circles. And it also might feel good to come into hero, bringing the knees together, the feet come mats width apart. We let the feet fall between the hips and then walk back, opening up the front body, walking it back to the top. And then I'm gonna take out my cushion here because we're gonna prepare for our splits. So we're coming back to our tabletop, grabbing our blocks, keeping them handy for each side of the mat. And then we're going to come to a low lunge on our right side. Bringing the right foot to the top of the mat, we're going to tuck our left toes, shift that leg back a little bit. We're gonna shift our hips back and then get our towel or blanket that's at the top of the mat. We're gonna take our heel and place it on the mat. So we're back to our half split. We're feeling a scissoring happening again. We're squeezing our thighs in together. We've got the heel on the mat. We've got that slight bend in the knee. The quad is activated. And then we can begin to bring our blocks towards the top of the mat. And we're going to use this prop under our foot to begin to slide our foot forward, finding our level for splits. We could be right here. We're really using our blocks to help support us if we're here. Our hands are keeping some of the weight out of the hamstring, but if we think we can go further, we can begin to continue to slide forward. We can also shimmy, slide back in, and play with the levels of the block. You might be able to bring the hands a little closer to the earth, shifting forward. And once you find a spot to stay, if you're not all the way down, we can also use the blocks under the leg, see if I can get it, under the calf to help support us in our split. So finding that space. Begin to shift, slide the leg back in, pull our blocks out of the way, and then shift sides. Reset our props. So we're coming in, we're building that foundation. Anytime that we're coming into balance or we're using props, we want to make sure before we go into the other side, we're keeping our things accessible. So we don't have to think too much about where we're going next, and we're tuning into the body. Beginning to bring the left foot to the top of the mat. We might find we need to shimmy ourselves forward a little bit, enough to put the heel onto the blanket. And now we've found our half split. Making an assessment here. How's the hamstring feeling? How's the hips? How much further do we want to slide forward? These are all based on your body, what you're feeling. Skipping out on those things that don't feel good. And remembering, as we begin to slide forward, our bodies are different from day to day. We might be able to take this all the way to the floor one day, and we might have to back out of it the next, and that is okay. We're listening to ourselves, honoring our body, feeling this wonderful opening in our hips and hamstrings, keeping the hips pointing forward, noticing if we're trying to cheat it, leaning left or right. We're bringing those scissors. We've got that, it's almost like there's a pivot point. There's a post going through your hips. So we want to make sure those hips are staying on that post, and then our legs can move. And if we're starting to shift to the right or the left, we need to pull it back. So we're finding that space where we're engaging the muscles. We feel an opening, but when we're starting to shift, we're cheating it. We're thinking we might be able to go a little further when really we might be creating problems. So we try to shift it back in. Also knowing our body has limits, and there might be something that has you bumping out to the side. So we want to just envision pulling it back to center, but knowing where we are at today. Gently sliding that leg back in to our table. We can release down onto our heels. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.